Hi everyone, we're going to give it another minute or two to let other people join us. Just enjoy the sounds of Africa. All right, hi everyone. I'm still going to give a few more people a chance to join us. Just a little reminder in your chat box, if you'd like to chat amongst each other, not only to panelists, please change your settings where it says to say to all panelists and attendees. That way everybody can see your messages as well as us. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. We would also like to invite you during this webinar to send through your questions in the Q&A box during the webinar, and we will do our best to actually answer them while we're chatting today. We're not only going to be leaving questions to the end like we normally do. We want to change it up a bit for this last session of the year. So today we will be having a look back at what was one of the most incredible years in I think everybody's lives, looking back at 2020 and chatting about how this year has shaped the campaign, how some events have shaped our campaign, and how we will be moving forward into 2021. So having a look back at 2020, I know Louise, just to give everybody an intro, I have a feeling everyone already knows us. If I have a look at some of the attendees here, I think I recognize every name that has joined us today. So thank you all. I know everybody here has probably joined one of our previous webinars, but to introduce ourselves, my name is Cath. I am the Blood Lions campaign coordinator, and I also head up our Youth for Lions campaign. And with me is Louise Waal. She is our Blood Lions campaign manager. So we will just be having a bit of a discussion today, looking back at the campaign. So Louise, over to you to let's have a chat about 2020.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. And as Cath was saying, I think we all agree that this was a bizarre, weird year that sort of started off sort of fairly normal and then kind of started spiraling out of control. And as Cath was saying, I think it has really shaped to large extent what we as Blood Lions have done this year. Yeah, just to reiterate what Cath said earlier, please feel free. We're kind of going through some of our highlights in terms of campaigns, and do add your questions to the Q&A box, and we'll try and take those questions while we're talking about the various topics. I think that would probably work better than leaving everything till the end. So as I said, we started off the year as normal, and we submitted some responsible tourism awards to WTM Africa, where we were going to have a stand, and of course WTM Africa was quickly cancelled because of the COVID-19 situation, but Very encouraging though that we have won the most compelling digital story in the Inspirational Africa Responsible Tourism Awards, which was really quite nice. And apparently we are going to be given our award, whatever it is, next year when WTM Africa is supposed to happen. So if you are in Cape Town in April, then come and see us. Yeah, also quite a highlight for the Bloodlines team is that we actually won 2 very long-standing legal cases. They had been going for years, and we've actually won both of them, which was amazing. And something very different, and I think again it was kind of it forced our hands, the whole situation, not being able to do physical presentations and not to go to places and do screenings. We started really talking about these webinar series, and so in July, I think it was, Cath, we launched the webinar series, and really aiming at raising awareness and unpacking various elements of this captive predator breeding industry in South Africa. And we started with the common conservation. So yeah, and I think it's been going really well. And we are definitely sort of looking forwards. We're definitely going to carry on with the webinar series next year. And then, yeah, the rest of the year was really a large number of campaigns. And surprise, surprise, there was very much a common theme around zoonosis and the call for a 0 lion bone quota that is linked to the whole zoonosis issue. So I think what we would like to do is sort of go through some of the bigger campaigns that we've run this year and give you some feedback on how that went and the positives, etc. So the whole thing was kicked off early in the year through the fact that we suddenly were faced with this situation where, you know, the world was suddenly in lockdown, a pandemic, COVID-19 linked to the very unhealthy relationship that we as humans have with wildlife, and the totally disastrous consequences it had for, you know, the world economy, and especially when you look at sectors like tourism. So that situation forced us to actually do something around World Health Day, which normally wouldn't be a day that is sort of on our minds particularly much as Bloodlines in normal years. And with a number of other organizations, we wrote a letter to the World Health Organization imploring the World Health Organization to recommend a worldwide ban on the live wildlife markets. And we managed to get 340 sign-ons from global organizations, welfare, conservation organizations, scientists, tourism, all asking for the same thing. We have, as Bloodlines, we've sent that same letter to the South African government, to the ministers and deputy ministers and parliamentary portfolio committees for environment, tourism, agriculture and health. So we got some acknowledgements, but that was probably about it. But we also felt it was important to raise further awareness around the issues. So we, with the Lion Coalition that we are members of, we initiated and hosted a Twitter storm on World Health Day on the 7th of April, which was very exciting. And we had an hour-long Twitter chats. Yeah, you should actually be a fly on the wall when the Bloodlines team actually does a Twitter chats, because we are all on our computers and different accounts, and we were on Zoom at the same time and saying, oh, need to do this, oh, you need to do that, and it's this busy beehive that is going on. But it's
it's good fun.
It's
stressful but good fun.
Absolutely. And yeah, it was really to highlight the facts and the future threats associated with these zoonotic pathogens, because it was new to everybody. Most people had never heard of it, let alone knowing that, you know, although a lot of the zoonotic diseases are you know, related to wildlife, it was still quite a new thing, I think, for the vast majority of people worldwide. And we did that under the hashtag ban wildlife markets, and we trended 7th in South Africa, 2nd in Kenya. I think there was over 7,400 posts, nearly 7,000 accounts were involved, and I think we had a reach of nearly 40 million people. So it was really quite incredible. So yeah, that was really the first kickoff in terms of zoonosis and the whole COVID-19 situation.
And I think that was about 10 days after our hard lockdown hit us here in South Africa, where we were all kind of housebound. So it was something to work towards, something to distract all of us during that first week, and definitely something to bring home the whole COVID-19 pandemic and why we do what we do. So yeah, with us going into our first week of hard lockdown and most of the world in a lockdown, this World Health Day campaign was extremely important, and it really kicked off our campaign for the rest of the year. And you can see its importance in how impactful the campaign has been and still is in December. So the hashtag ban wildlife markets trended, and with the Lion Coalition, we made the ban wildlife markets video clip with the Lion Coalition and some of our other partner organizations. That video clip received 170,000 views across Bloodlines social platforms alone. So I think we had, how many organizations are in the coalition?
We're at 30 plus organizations.
So, I mean, if Bloodlines views was 170,000, I can imagine if the other organizations views were that high, our reach must have been incredible. So the
because there was some because there were some very big international organizations involved as well, like Paws, like Born Free, HSI, World Animal Protection. So yeah, there were some very large international organizations involved as well. So the reach must have been tremendous.
It was really, really great, and it put the whole issue of zoonotic diseases and their impact on the map. Because our press release that went to South African media resulted in mentions of bloodlines in 21 media articles and 2 television interviews, which you did, Louise. I remember during the lockdown at dinner time telling everybody, sit down for dinner, Louise is going to be on SABC. It was very, very exciting.
Can I tell you secrets?
Please.
Oh, I was so scared.
You didn't make it a secret, shame. I'd definitely rather you than me. I would have been so nervous, but it really put the issue on the map, and it was so exciting to see all of our hard work going towards something as big as a news interview, which was really, really cool. So the Ban Wildlife Markets video clip, which was made with the Lion Coalition. On top of that, we had a Ban Wildlife Market spin-off campaign with our youth and our youth ambassadors that picked up on it. And we made a video clip for that, which I think we should show all the attendees now. It's such a beautiful clip.
Across the globe, we are all in some form of social distancing lockdown because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The COVID-19 outbreak most likely originated in wildlife markets, where wild and domestic animals are kept in deplorable conditions and are killed in close proximity to humans.
Zoonotic diseases like COVID-19 and Ebola have resulted in over 2 million human deaths each year.
We are calling on the World Health Organization and governments worldwide to ban wildlife markets and to stop the spread of zoonotic diseases like COVID-19.
You can stop the spread of COVID-19 by following social distancing guidelines. Cover your nose and mouth, and wash your hands regularly.
But to prevent future pandemics like this one, we must take action against the exploitation of our wildlife.
Join our movement by signing the Ban Wildlife Markets Pledge and sharing your opinion on social media. Our wildlife needs us.
So that was a really powerful video. I'm not sure if everyone watching would also like to comment on the goosebumps that you have, because I know I definitely have. And Steph, I think I saw you in the attendees there. So I know that, yeah, you were a part of it as one of our youth ambassadors. We were so very proud of the youth and the ambassadors and members of the public for getting involved in that. That campaign was a direct result of the World Health Organization World Health Day campaign. And we started the Ban Wildlife Markets Pledge as a way to get people physically involved, get them to be able to sign on to letters that we could then send to people. And that pledge was signed by 622 people. That pledge was incorporated into a letter, which was sent to the Ministers of Environment, Agriculture, Tourism and Health to signify Youth Day in June. Again, we had acknowledgement of that letter, but no response from the minister. There was a separate clip that was made by a young South African, a young girl from Durban, actually, who completely blew us away by gathering messages from youth across the globe in different languages, all asking for the same thing, all asking to ban wildlife markets and stop the spread of zoonotic diseases. That particular video received over 5,000 views on our Youth for Lions page and platforms, and it had a combined reach of 13,000-ish people. And that was just organically picked up by someone who had seen our video. So that was really, really exciting for us.
Yeah, and I think we have to sort of keep in mind as well that this all happens. It was new to everybody. And I still get goosebumps when I start watching that video and see those empty streets and the empty escalators. And because that was it, just thinking back, that's what most of the world, most of the cities were looking like.
It was a reality for so long and yet it feels like it never happened, if that makes sense.
Like a lifetime ago, yeah. And I think we just sort of need to sort of think back those months that we suddenly, worldwide, we all found ourselves in that situation. So yeah, and I think it was amazing that youth picked up on that and they gave it such a positive spin and wanted to be part of change.
Yeah.
And I think that is the power that youth can have, because in the end of the day, it's the world is their future. Yeah, so we just kept on going. World Tiger Day again is one that's never been so much on the agenda of Blood Lions. It really is something that has been very close to my heart, because I feel that when we look at the captive lion breeding industry, we often forget all these other predators that are part of that industry. And yes, the lions are the vast majority of those predators, but there are literally thousands of cheetahs, leopards, caracals, servals, tigers, jaguars, pumas, and we crossbreed tigers with lions. So I felt, and the tiger breeding part is really starting to worry me tremendously. And when we look at CITES information, we know that tigers are being exported to places like China, to Vietnam, and live export I'm talking about as well. And then they go into zoos in big inverted commas, and very often we don't even know whether they're zoos or whether they're breeding facilities. We had that the webinar with Michelle Pickover from the EMS Foundation and Smarta Lau from Ban Animal Trading on their Breaking Point report. And it's just so obvious from the work they did as well that often what is on the CITES permits is not being checked. These animals are being resold, and they go into the tiger bone and body part trade. And that is the main thing. You know, we are cuddling and these cute little tiger cubs, and they end up in that very same trade where the lion bones end up and mixed up very often with lion bone as well. So we really wanted to start making that connection. So that's why we felt that World Tiger Day was something to highlight. And we actually created a video. We did some interviews with one of the tiger specialists, Debbie Banks from the Environmental Investigation Agency, and to really focus on that international trade in tiger body parts and how the South African lion bone trade supplements this trade, but also how the South African tiger trade feeds into that. So maybe, Cath, if you can start by showing that video.
It's very educational. It covers the entire industry, as you've been saying. I do just want to highlight for everybody watching, there are one or two images that are a bit graphic. So if there are any children online, I'm not sure if there are, just please be aware that it's coming. Sorry.
There are fewer than 4,000 wild tigers left in the world today. That's a 96% decline in the last 120 years. In the 1970s, international trade in tiger parts and products was prohibited under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. So it's illegal to traffic tiger parts and products globally, but there's all sorts of loopholes about what you can do at the national level. Poaching of wild tigers for the trade in their body parts is the primary threat to the world's remaining wild tiger population. The primary consumer countries for tigers are China and Vietnam. Almost every part of the tiger has a value in the marketplace. Skin is used as a decorative item, as luxury home decor, as a rug. Bones are used in traditional Chinese medicine. They're also used to make tiger bone wine, which is very often sold as a prestigious gift or a non-financial bribe. In Vietnam in particular, tiger bone is used to make a glue-like substance. The bones are boiled down to make a tiger bone cake that's then consumed as a medicine in tea or wine. Bones are also used to make bracelets. Tiger bone tails are used to make charms. Tiger teeth and claws make very expensive jewellery. Even tiger blood is consumed at banquets. So there's a trade and a market and a demand for almost every part of the tiger. So tigers are on Appendix 1 of CITES, which means all international trade in their parts and derivatives are prohibited. Lions, African lions, are listed on Appendix 2 of CITES. It is legal to export lion parts so long as all the appropriate paperwork and permits are issued. To the best of our knowledge, lion bone has not been traditionally used in traditional Chinese medicine. Many consumers and traders can't tell the difference between lion bone and tiger bone, and we believe that it's being marketed, certainly, in China as tiger. That lion bone trade is very much keeping the demand for tiger very much alive. So it's a huge problem for tiger conservation. It's actually supplementing the demand with a cheaper supply against which criminal networks are making significant profits.
And the only reason why they breed them in captivity is for the lion bone trade and for their skins and for being exported on the black market for personal gain. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not about the animal and what it looks like. So they don't care about the welfare of the animal. All they need is 3 or 4 or 5 lion carcasses a year and they set it because they get a lot of money for it on the black market. Every single aspect of those lions' life has been manipulated and exploited by the human being. Once they reach a certain age, they put like 20 lions in a very small enclosure. They don't clean that enclosure. The most common issues that I have come across on these farms are obviously nutritional issues where they don't feed these animals, and that's from day one. The proper milk replacer, suckling these animals, the proper hygiene. They suffer from nutritional deficiencies and they don't develop properly and they get bone deformities and they're in chronic pain. Lions, they're intelligent animals. They understand things, and most animals are, you know. It's just devastating to see the welfare and how they treat these animals. It's not a single isolated case. It's not one farm. It's been like this all the years. It's just they've kept it under wraps. And those animals are just chucked there and bred and sold on the black market for their bones. It's unacceptable.
So that was a very interesting video clip for us to create, as I know it was for you to create, Lou, because you did the interviews for that. I'm sure it's very emotional, but as I said at the beginning, it's very educational, and it really made huge inroads into making that connection between the captive lion breeding industry here in South Africa and the tiger bone trade in Asia, not only lion bones, but tiger bones.
Yeah, and I think that was quite evident from the fact that there's a lot of press that came out of this video and the press release that we put out with it. Just the fact that people hadn't made that connection, the fact that we are breeding quite intensively tigers. Yeah. There are several facilities in South Africa that do breed these animals quite intensively. And Stephanie was saying she hadn't seen the video. And I think the problem was, Stephanie, that Tiger Day was on the 29th of July, and then the 10th of August, not even 2 weeks later, it's World Lion Day, and the World Lion Day kind of overshadowed. So I'm sure next year we will actually come back to the whole tiger issue again. And yeah, watching this, it is quite an emotional video, especially when we sort of link it directly with that whole lion bone trade and all the welfare issues associated with it. So yeah,
definitely. And I think that's we were in that space of lion bone trade and tiger bone trade and the quota that had been set, which is, I think, one of the reasons why our World Lion Day campaign kind of went in that direction and to advocate against the trade of lion bones. So I think majority of people here, hopefully you know about our 800 Voices for 800 Lions campaign that we did for World Lion Day. It's, in my opinion, one of our more successful campaigns and specific day campaigns. It has been absolutely mind-blowing to see the response to it. Lenore, I will answer your question in a second. Just you make a very good point. So our 800 Voices for 800 Lions campaign was in collaboration with World Animal Protection International and World Animal Protection Africa, and we launched it with the aim of expressing through art the legal CITES export quota of 800 lion skeletons per year. We found through some public interactions and questionnaires that so few people knew that this was a legal thing going on. People kind of thought it was a little bit like poaching, and it would just be dealt with. And so few people knew that it was legal. Our very first piece of art that was submitted was this mural on the Durban beachfront by mural artist Giffy. And this was on the wall at the Durban skate park, which could be seen on the Golden Mile. I think it was up for about a month or two. It was really impactful. It was only recently painted over, and I was with Giffy when he was doing it, and I know the amount of people that stopped and asked questions, and then I had to kind of do impromptu presentations trying to explain to people what our bones are not for sale meant, and so few people knew about it. I think every single person I spoke to was shocked. So we asked the public to create and submit their own lion-inspired art pieces, and our goal was to submit those to Minister Barbara Creasy of the Department of Environment, asking her and urging the department to set a zero CITES lion bone export quota going forward. We created a video clip which inspired people to get involved, and this clip has been viewed over half a million times. I think most people have seen it, but we will show it now again.
Did you know that South Africa legally exports lion skeletons and body parts? The most recent CITES export quota, set in 2018, was 800 skeletons per year. That's more than 2 lions killed every day for the legal trade in their bones. Lion bones are used in traditional Chinese medicine to supplement the tiger bone trade. When breeding lions for their bones, their health and welfare is often not a priority. The South African Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries has appointed a high-level panel to review policies and management of lions and other threatened wildlife species. And they will be making a decision about the future of the lion bone trade. We need you to be the voice for our lions. Join us as we create a visual representation of the lions who are slaughtered every year for the lion bone trade. Express your voice for these lions through an art form of your choice. Your representation could be in the form of painting, drawing, coloring, photography, music, dance, poetry. Together, we can move South Africa's leaders to set a zero lion bone export quota.
I must say it's very weird to see my face in the video and in the corner of my screen. So that was our call for help, and we are very proud to announce that not only did we collect 800 pieces of lion art, we collected 1,300 pieces of lion art from all around the world. We have been completely taken aback by the response to this campaign. It's gone way beyond our expectations. We've had over 800 submissions just from South Africans alone. I think there was about 840 from South Africans and around 500 from everywhere else around the world, including China and Vietnam, which was a really great achievement for us. Not only that, but we had 667 submissions from the youth, from young people younger than the age of 16, which to me was very, very valuable and super important to see, especially the younger children, the junior and the senior primary schools, really take this on. And a lot of the teachers that I spoke to when they did the submissions, they said that it was all the children's idea, and they were the ones driving the art submission. So that has been really inspirational to see. So thank you to everybody who has submitted. We are in the process of putting everything together and making a submission to the Minister of Environment, and we will keep everybody updated on how that has gone. So yeah, that's one of my biggest highlights for this year, was this campaign. It's been truly inspirational.
It has, and I have to say, I still get goosebumps. I really do, because it's been, well, you can see, the pieces of art are still, and that's just a fraction of what we've received.
This was only 100. This was less than 100 artworks that I put together.
It was so absolutely incredible. And yeah, even China and Vietnam, and again, youth from those countries. Can I just go back to Lenore, her question, how that can be allowed? We definitely do need stricter legislation and law enforcement. I think that is part of the problem, especially in terms of the welfare issues. There's no norms and standards for this industry. We've done a seminar or webinar on welfare, and the whole welfare issue, the whole norms and standards has been passing the buck for years now. The Department of Environment says, oh, it's not our mandate, welfare. So they point at the Department of Agriculture, and Agriculture goes, no, it's not our mandate either. And they point at the provincial authorities, and they go, no, welfare is not our mandate. So in the end of the day, then we're down to just the NSPCA, who are very poorly resourced, because they are an NGO. They're completely dependent on funding donations for everything that they do. They are dependent on quite outdated animal welfare protection legislation as well. So, for example, our Animal Protection Act is from 1962 and hasn't been updated since. Okay, I'm giving away my age, but that's when I was born. You know, it's that old. It's basically ancient, and that is what the NSPCA needs to deal with. And the problem is that also in our courts, welfare cases are not given priority. So yeah, we totally agree. It is absolutely essential and needed. And in the absence of that, that is why we, you know, one of the main reasons why this industry needs to be stopped altogether, because the welfare issues in this industry are really quite horrific. So yeah, gosh, this actually putting it all together like this, it's quite scary how much we have done this year. But we're sort of coming towards the more recent past. World Tourism Month. Somebody listening in will remember this very well.
Until you know who you are.
Oh yes. Yeah, again, World Tourism Day, we called on the tourism industry in a collaboration with the Humane Society International Africa. We wrote a letter that was endorsed by SATSA as well. And we were calling again on Minister Creasy from the Department of Environment to end the captive breeding industry and all of its associated spin-off industries. So including the co-petting and walking with lions, that is the sort of the tourism elements, as the department was instructed to do through the implementation of the National Assembly resolutions.
I get a feeling Minister Creasy might be a little bit sick of us by now.
Yeah, Minister Creasy has had quite a few pieces of correspondence.
If she doesn't know who we are by now, then we're doing something wrong.
Yeah. So the letter that was endorsed by SATSA, which was amazing, was signed by 150 people from within the tourism industry. The HSI Africa, they also did an NGO and a scientist letter, so it was really a sort of a united front of different sectors, and they were all submitted to the minister last week. We have had correspondence from the minister that she has actually forwarded that to the high-level panel for their consideration. So, and I think we should show that video.
Yes, definitely. I see Paul's got the little face palm face, so here we go. I had to be on screen, now it's your turn.
Yep, absolutely.
We are sitting on a ticking time bomb. If we maintain the status quo, another pandemic is inevitable. A recent study identified more than 60 pathogens associated with wild and captive lions. South Africa's captive lion population poses a real and significant risk. Lion cubs born in captivity are ripped from their mothers to be bottle-fed and trained for tourist activities. This can create huge welfare issues. Any close interaction between captive lions and humans provides an opportunity for zoonotic diseases to transfer from animals to humans, particularly under poor welfare conditions and when the animal is stressed. All the lions, which are no longer safe and profitable for tourism, are sold for captive hunts. The preparation of their trophies by taxidermists creates further opportunity for zoonosis. Lions are also killed for their bones. The slaughter and preparation of the skeletons poses a high risk of zoonosis. The potential danger to the end user of lion products is currently unknown. The COVID-19 pandemic has taught us that the exploitation of wildlife is detrimental to animal and human health. As tourism begins to reopen, we have the opportunity to do better, to be better. Let's reboot a greener and kinder tourism without wildlife exploitation. The kind of tourism that keeps it wild. Join other tourism organizations as they make a difference. Sign our letter to the South African government calling to stop the captive predator breeding and its associated exploitative industries.
So yes, thank you, Mtokozisi, for lending your voice for that. It was very, very exciting to be able to work with you and to be able to animate that graphic that we had and turn it into kind of a life cycle graphic and link it to tourism.
Yeah, and can I also highlight the fact, you know, we work with a very talented team of people, and Patrick George, who's done this graphic and has done a lot of the Bloodlines graphics. He did the zoonosis graphic early in the year. Very talented person, and Dave Cohen as well, who does a lot of our videos. So yeah, thank you both. You know, it's incredibly important to have those talented people to work with.
Yeah.
And I think this kind of the video and highlighting the zoonosis and how that can affect people and how this industry can be such a important what's the word I'm looking for? You know, there's so much it
contributes.
Sorry. Yeah, it contributes to that. So what we did early in the year, and it's obviously taken a little bit of time, you know, we felt that we had to get a feel and understand the health risks associated with the commercial lion breeding and keeping trade. So nobody knew what pathogens were associated with lions and how many. So we delved with the World Animal Protection. We delved in the literature, peer-reviewed literature, and did a review of the existing scientific literature. And we just did a search for a 10-year period, 2009 to 19. And as was said in the video as well, we found a lot of pathogens that were associated with both wild and captive lions. And I think it's very important to know that. We need to know. This is, as far as we know, the first baseline study carried out in the fields, where we can actually now say, okay, this is a list of pathogens and a list of associated diseases and clinical symptoms that are associated with lions, whether they're wild or captive.
Yeah, and I think it's especially now, it's an extremely important study for us to have done and for the public to have access to, because before March 2020, there were very few people who were aware of the fact that zoonotic diseases existed. I was probably one of them. I had an idea that you could get SARS and you know, bird flu and swine flu and things like that, but nothing like this really made sense to me until I started looking into those peer-reviewed articles and those papers, and it was extremely fascinating to see how many parasites, viruses, bacteria are found in wild and captive lions, and the risks that we are taking, keeping them in captivity and interacting with them in tourism, as is being done in South Africa. So just to give a little bit of layman's background, many pathogens are highly contagious and cause significant mortality in carnivore species. Many of the pathogenic organisms that were reported in these studies raised concerns for human health. So a lot of them had the potential to be passed from animals, from lions to other species, from lions to other lions, and then from lions to humans as well. In particular, considering that basic hygiene protocols, such as hand sanitizing and stepping points to disinfect your shoes in between enclosures, are absent in the captive lion breeding industry in South Africa. And given the conditions that a lot of the industry is operating under, with high concentrations of wild animals and different species being kept in smaller enclosures, in the same enclosures, as we saw in the World Tiger Day video, you have lions and tigers in one enclosure and lots of them. This is really increasing the susceptibility of these animals to pathogenic organisms. And it's very likely that this kind of behavior and the treatment of these animals can play a very significant role in the emergence and transmission of diseases between animals and animals and humans. So just to kind of, put this into perspective, what we know is that the COVID-19 virus can be passed from humans to large felines and captive mink. Was it the Boston Zoo, Louise, where the lions were tested positive for COVID-19?
Yeah, very, very early on, the Bronx Zoo.
Bronx Zoo.
Both lion and tiger, and in this last week in Barcelona Zoo as well.
Yeah. So it is possible that it can be passed from humans to the lions, and we just don't know yet how bad and whether it can infect humans. As the virus has been altered, vaccines are also likely to be less effective, and it's a huge risk that is being taken as we go along.
Well, we know from the captive mink situation in Europe, where the virus at COVID-19 was passed on from humans to mink, and then in that process, the virus was actually was altered. The strain alters in that process, and now it's being passed from mink back to humans. And the problem is, because it's a slightly altered strain of the virus, that the experts are worried that the vaccines are less effective on those altered strains. So that's an additional worry as well. So we know it's possible in species like mink. It's very likely it can happen in lions as well. And then we're only talking about the COVID-19 virus. We've identified 63 other pathogens. And amongst that, bovine TB as well. It's a huge worry. So that was our first peer-reviewed article that was published. The second one is going through the peer-reviewed process. Actually, has been in the peer-reviewed process for a while now. In the same way, we really wanted to get a feel. We know from what comes out that there are welfare challenges, but we wanted to sort of quantify that in better terms, qualify that as well. So we did a similar method where we used the existing literature, whereas with the zoonosis paper we had 150 papers we reviewed. For the welfare we had just under 191, I think, papers that we reviewed. And we actually found, we looked for various terms that relate to the captive lion welfare. So captive lions was obviously the common thread. So we found 170 different terms that relate to negative aspects of captive lion welfare. And that includes anything from diseases and injuries to negative behaviors like head bobbing and pacing kind of behavior, and also negative mental experiences, nutritional issues. It's actually not as easy as it sounds to make sure that these large predators get the right nutrition in captivity, but also very basic things like lack of food and lack of water,
lack of clean water.
Lack of clean water, yeah, sometimes a lack of water altogether, and environmental challenges as well. Now, it was quite interesting that quite a small percentage of the papers focused on captive lions, and of those papers, only 2 studies focused on data from commercial lion farms in South Africa. So when we're talking captivity, that includes anything, from sanctuaries to rehabilitation centers to zoos, so any sort of captive environment. But there was only 2 papers, and one paper was a paper on a surgical sterilization technique in a lioness, and the other one involved genetic sampling of 3 lions that were killed in hunts. So not even that related. So it also identified this massive big gap in our knowledge base. So we get a feel for the welfare issues in captivity in general, but when we look at the commercial breeding, we have absolutely no idea, because these facilities are really not very accessible, and especially considering that they are for profits. They want to make a profit. They're commercial ventures, enterprises. So when it comes to breeding lions and other big cats for things like the bone trades, for the hunting industry, animal welfare is often not a priority. So we expect that the challenges to meet welfare conditions on those commercial breeding farms are even greater, the challenges, than in any other captive environment than zoos. So this is going to be also an interesting one, because welfare is very often a little bit swept under the carpets. But yeah, as soon as this one is going to be accepted, I think we're waiting for feedback from one reviewer. Then this should also be published, and hopefully in that we can start the new year. And they all go in open journals, open to the public, so anybody can read the articles as well. So I think these pieces of research were really a fairly new thing for us and very exciting. Especially myself and Cath as well, having an academic background, it is actually very nice to sort of go, okay, let's look at these scientific facts and let's be really academic about it. And yeah, often the government also tells us they're not interested in grey literature. They always want peer-reviewed information. So
yeah, they have it.
Exactly.
They asked and they received. So I think these research papers are one of the main things that we will definitely be taking forward with us into 2021, to continue this theme of science-based research, and using it to interact with government and to get kind of our points across. And so I think very quickly, if we can just skip over this, unfortunately I don't want to keep everybody for too long, but just to let everyone know that we did submit to the high level panel. We did present to the PPC for tourism. Louise was part of the C20 panel discussion, which was a global panel discussion. We submitted those 3 letters to the minister, and we have requested a meeting with Minister Barbara Creasy of the Department of Environment. So it has been a very interesting year when it comes to our interaction with government, and we are developing some good relationships, I think, and we're making ourselves known, putting ourselves
and I
known.
think also keep an eye out for those of you who are quite informed with regards to the high level panel. They are running behind time a little bit, but we have been informed that they should be making their recommendations to the minister next week. Whether that is going to be made public, we don't know. But yeah, we sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there. Yes, keep an eye out for any news. We will definitely, obviously, if anything comes out, we will put that on our platforms. But we are expecting something to come out of the high level panel next week. So yeah, let's hope for a positive outcome.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of what a lot of our 2021 campaign ideas is going to be based on, is their recommendations, and whether everything that we have done this year has made a difference, and what more we need to do going forward to make the biggest difference possible.
Yeah, and I think one of the really important things, we had our first face-to-face team meeting not so long ago in Durban, which was so nice. And yeah, what we definitely want to do, obviously, we've got this amazing, peer-reviewed article now, and hopefully the welfare paper will be out soon as well. So we now need to translate that into campaign materials, into a way that everybody can understand, because there's so much information in those papers that I think we need to make sure people understand and are aware of, because the more understanding, the more information, the more knowledge people have, the more they understand why we're campaigning against the industry. I think knowledge is power, knowledge is key. So that will definitely be what we will be doing in 2021. And something we haven't mentioned, because I didn't want to sort of talk too long and want to be able to take some of your questions as well. But we're also working on a gap analysis, which will be another paper that we will submit for review, and that is really literally identifying the gaps in our knowledge on the industry. It's a very complex industry, so that's another one that is coming out hopefully early next year, and again, information that needs to be out there for people. So yeah, I think if there's any questions with regards to our campaigns, what we've done, what we will be doing, or in general, please let us know. I'm very happy to take some questions. And
this, I think, is our main 2021 motto, Born to Live Wild, and that's our goal, is to make sure that all the lions in South Africa and in the world are born wild and not in captivity. And this picture just makes me smile, actually.
Yeah, and not just born wild, but also are allowed to live wild, and be wild, because unfortunately there's also still animals being taken out of the wild and back into captivity. So yeah, thank you for your thank yous.
Yes. Now it's our turn to say thank you. Yes. We would not be able to do anything, any of this, without the support of absolutely everybody out there, and all of our followers, our loyal followers. I know a lot of you are very loyal. You're always here for the webinars. You're always interacting on social media. We appreciate all of you so very much. And yeah, our biggest ask of everyone is to get involved as much as possible. Educate yourselves, educate your contacts, your friends, your family about this industry, because as Louise said, I think education and knowledge is key. And the more awareness that we can raise, the better.
Yeah, and yeah, Steph, you're still here. Thank you also for all your help and work with some of our research. Really appreciate it. I see Stephanie. Do you mean the reclassification of lions under the Animal Improvement Act or the Meat Safety Act? I guess it's the Meat Safety Act, and I know those amendments, the public comments have gone back, and as far as I know, nothing has come out of the Department of Agriculture on that. So it is something that we are keeping an eye on, because especially again, when we sort of look back at our zoonotic research that we did, and then the fact that they, you know, lions could even be included under the Meat Safety Act. It's just crazy, because what is that going to do? We don't actually know. I think that is the main thing. We do not know whether there are pathogens, diseases that can be transmitted through the consumption, for example, of meat. There's so many knowledge gaps in this industry that need to be filled before we can actually make those kind of decisions. So yeah, we are keeping an eye out for that one as well. Lots has happened, and lots of changes to acts as well.
I think this year has been quite important in that regard, with kind of defining the way that we look at this industry, and the way that the government will be forced to look at this industry. They can't just sweep it under the rug anymore. They can't say it's not my responsibility anymore. It's become a beast that they can't tame, and it needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, and I think given the pandemic and the crippling economic situation that we found ourselves in, and the health implications, I think the government is listening. They do realize that zoonosis is something to be taken serious. So yeah, let's just keep our fingers crossed. So yeah, there's a lot to do. I think also one of the things for next year that we're looking at is to be positive and working on a phase out plan for this industry as well, where we want to be part of the solution and coming up with solutions for phasing out this industry. So yeah, any other questions, please let us know, and otherwise we are wishing you all a fantastic Christmas and a very happy New Year, and let's just hope for a healthier and more positive 2021. But yeah, I hope you all enjoy the festive season.
Enjoy responsibly, as they say.
Yes. Absolutely. Enjoy with your family and your friends, but in a responsible manner. We're still not out of the woodwork, out of the danger zone. So yes, stay safe, definitely.
There's a question from Stephanie.
Yeah.
Do you want to take this one, Lou?
When a lion farm is closed, where do the lions go? Very good question. And there is no straightforward answer. If it's closed because of financial reasons, like in the current situation, they are allowed to do whatever they want with those lions. and most likely they will either be sold or they will be slaughtered for their bones. But what we're working on in terms of phase-out plan to close the whole industry is to make sure that those animals, that there will be a proper plan that we can follow and can be followed, and where everybody is on the same page, because a phase out like this will only work when we're all on the same page. So government, the industry itself, together with welfare organizations, with the NSPCA, and I think it has to be done in a very planned and organized manner, well thought out, because we don't want to be in a situation where these animals are just randomly slaughtered. So that's why we really want to start working on a phase-out plan, and not just bloodlines. It's actually an initiative, again, an initiative across various organizations, which is actually something that 2020 brought as well. It brought a lot of collaboration, which is amazing, where we have really created more of a united front, which is a very positive thing. Yeah. It's certainly a mountain to climb. You can say that again. And sometimes it is one step forward and three back. But, you know, look at those faces of those lion cubs. And yeah, that is what keeps us going. Yes, absolutely. That's what keeps us going for sure.
Yeah.
So, but thank you all
with that
for your support.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I was going to took the words right out of my mouth. Just thank everybody for your support throughout this year, and to just reiterate that we will be continuing these webinar episodes next year. We've got some exciting topics in the wing, so yeah, that will be really great to have everybody's support for that as well. And from myself, the Bloodlines and the Youth for Lions teams, thank you very much for joining us and for supporting, and have a happy, healthy, safe festive season, and we will see everyone in 2021. Thanks. Absolutely. Everyone.
Stay safe and healthy, and see you in the next year.
Definitely.
Good night.
Thanks everyone.